Good day, people. Today we're going to solve inequalities using addition or subtraction. But first we're going to recap graphing inequalities. So we have b is less than 4. So we put a circle over 4 and we draw arrow to the left. And remember, it's an arrow, so it never stops. Alright, you notice our circle is not shaded because it cannot be equal to 4 as well. For this one, -3 is less than or equal to n. We could rewrite this as n is greater than or equal to -3. So for this one, we put a circle at -3, and since it can be equal to -3 as well, we shade that circle and we're going to the right. What does this solution mean? N can be any value greater than -3. So it can be -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or anything in between. For this one, 2 is less than k. We can rewrite this one as k is greater than 2. So we put a circle at 2, and since it's greater than, we draw arrow to the right. This one says k must be less than or equal to -5. So I put a circle at -5, and since it's equal to -5, I have to shade that circle, and it's less than, so I go to the left. This one says x is less than -5, so I put my circle at -5 and I draw my arrow going to the left because it's less than -5. And lastly, we have -4 is greater than or equal to k. We can rewrite this one as k is greater than or equal to -4. From there, we can put a circle over -4, and we see that it can be equal to -4 as well, so we shade that circle. Next, we can draw arrow going to the right because it's -4 or any number that is greater than it. So that was our recap. Solve the inequality. So we have x plus 4 is greater than 7. So to isolate the variable, all we need to do is eliminate this plus 4. So we have to write the opposite. We have to subtract 4 from both sides. Subtract 4 from both sides. Subtracting 4 from both sides, we see that x is greater than 3. Alright, so I can put my 0 right there, 3 right there, -3 right there. Alright, so I put a circle over 3, and since it's greater than, I'm going to the right. You notice my circle is not shaded because it's not equal to 3 as well. My next question, -4 is less than x minus 5. So they are saying the value of 4 must be less than x minus 5. So I can isolate this variable by adding 5 to both sides, the opposite of subtracting 5. I add 5 to both sides, we see that 9 should be less than x, which means that x can be any value greater than 9. So putting that on our number line, you can put 0, 3, 6, 9. Alright, and we said x must be greater than 9, so we put a circle at 9 and we draw an arrow going to the right. And you notice our circle is not shaded because we're not including 9 as well. Alright, for this question they said 2/5 must be less than or equal to x minus 1/4. Okay, so to isolate this variable we need to add 1/4 to both sides. Adding 1/4 to both sides, we see that we get 13 over 20 is less than or equal to x, which is the same thing as x is greater than or equal to 13 over 20. Where do I find 13 over 20 on the number line? Alright, so we can have 0, 1 right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, we know 13 over 20 is close to 20 over 20. It's more than halfway of 20 over 20, so we know that it would fall somewhere right here. 13 over 20. Alright, so 13 over 20, so we put a circle over 13 over 20, and since it can be equal to 13 over 20 as well, we have to shade that circle, and we are going to the right with our arrow. Lastly, we have x plus 3/7 is greater than or equal to 4/5. So to isolate this variable, I need to subtract 3/7 from both sides. And we see that x will be greater than or equal to 13 over 35. Alright, so we can represent this on our number line. So we have 0 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you notice 13 over 35 is less than half, so we know it falls closer to half than a 0, so it will be right there, 13 over 35. We put a circle over 13 over 35, and we shade it since it can be equal to 13 over 35 as well, and we are always going to the right. Alright, our last question. Solve inequalities using addition or subtraction. The temperature in a greenhouse should be 67 degrees or higher. That's what it should be. So we know that looks like greater than or equal to 67. One morning the heater stopped working. The temperature dropped 4 degrees before someone fixed the heater. So we know it dropped 4 degrees, so we know that it's minus 4. The temperature was still at 67 degrees Fahrenheit when the heater started working again. How can you best describe the temperature in the greenhouse before the heater stopped working? Alright, so we need a variable. We can let x represent the temperature before the heater stopped working. So let x represent the temperature before the heater stopped working. So with the heat, this was the temperature before the heater stopped working, then it dropped below 4, and we know that it should be greater than or equal to 67. So how do I get x by itself? I add 4 to both sides. And I see that x would be greater than or equal to 71 degrees. Alright, they asked us to describe the temperature in the greenhouse before the heater stopped working. We can say that the temperature in the greenhouse before the heater stopped working was 71 degrees or higher. So the temperature before the temperature stopped working, before the heater stopped working, was 71 degrees or higher.